Hello, everybody. I have no idea why I'm blurred, but I'm blurred. And I've come out and I've come back in and I'm still blurred. So we'll wait for a few more people. I'm going to get sacked, I think, by the end of this, because not one single week does Facebook go okay. But I am here and I've got lots of questions. It's just them saying, why have I gone? But I am here and there's lots of you here. So I've also got loads of questions that people have asked me. So I'm just going to go straight in. Hi, Clarice. Hi, Anne. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, it's just one of those days. Right, so first question. I can feel my baby hiccup in the womb a lot. Once, sometimes twice a day. Is that okay? Yes, it's fine. People do get themselves really stressed about hiccups, and I can understand why, because when you go on to Google, it says the world's going to come to the end. But actually, it's really normal for babies to get hiccups. They're practicing swallowing. They're doing all sorts. Hi, Holly. They're getting used to things. So as long as it's not continuous with no break, hiccups a couple of times a day is absolutely fine. Hello, everybody. Is it normal for a episiotomy scar to be raised? So an episiotomy, for anybody who doesn't know, let's go straight in there, is where the bit between your back passage and your front passage, that muscle there is your perineum. And sometimes it's assessed when the baby is being delivered that it needs to have a cut to allow baby to come through, and that's an episiotomy. Yes, it can be raised. It just depends on how the scar tissue is and how it heals. So yeah, it's not abnormal for it to be a bit raised, yeah. I started getting Braxton Hicks at 24 weeks. Is this something to worry about? Not at all. Braxton Hicks can start from 22, 23 weeks. So yeah, perfectly normal, as long as you're not feeling any loss from down below, so any fluid or anything like that, and that they're sort of a bit sporadic, they come, they go, absolutely fine. What else? I'm harvesting colostrum. How much should I aim to collect in total? So that's a good question, Andrea, and the answer is there is no limit. The more you can get, the better, but don't get stressed if you don't get too much. So yeah. Right, I don't feel my baby because I've got a front placenta. I am worried. Anytime you are worried, you should go and get checked out. A front placenta is no reason to not feel any movements at all. Sometimes they may be a bit muffled, but if you're worried, you just got to keep getting checked out. Do you know something about immunisation vaccines? My baby needs to get 1 year vaccination, and I don't know if the baby... that's really a health visitor question, unfortunately. It's not one that I am able to answer. But my view on vaccines is I personally got my children vaccinated. Holly, is it normal for baby to be measuring over? She's measuring over the lines at every appointment I go to. It depends on how far, Holly. What we want to see is that babies are following a normal curve for them. So some babies are obviously bigger than others. As long as they're following that curve and they're not suddenly jumping way up and their growth isn't bonkers, if you will, in comparison to where they sort of started off on the plotting on the chart. So yeah, so it can be normal. Right, let's have a look what else I've got here. Is it normal to have quite a big bump at 17 weeks? It can be. Yeah, it's not abnormal. We'll just keep an eye on that to make sure the growth isn't too big. My colleague is 4 weeks ahead of me. She's 20 weeks, and she said she has to keep going to the toilet now because of amniotic fluid. I thought it was just because the blood. Yeah, it's more because of her bladder. It's not. You don't wee out amniotic fluid. So yeah, it's because of a baby jumping up and down on her bladder, and you do have increased volume of fluid in your body, so you will be weeing normally. But it's not that she's weeing amniotic fluid. Yes, love. Okay.
I have cleaned it.
Well, I'm cross.
Yeah, I know.
You set up in that bedroom all day and then you come down 10 minutes before and say you haven't had time to clean it. Not good enough.
I'm not going to hoover. I'm going to put the shaking back down so it sets.
I'm not going to hoover. I'm just going to put the shaken back down so it sets.
Yeah.
Is it not? Oh, hang on a minute. I'm 23 weeks and a small bump. Is that bad? It's not bad. Everybody is different. So some people it's tucked in and you can't see anything. Other people it's a really big bump. So there's no sort of right or wrong. How do you prepare your dogs for the presence of a new baby? Megan, the best answer I can give you to that one is to go onto our Barkers and Babies class, which is run by Fiona. And she is a Kennel Club registered dog trainer. She does a full hour and a half on introducing your baby safely to your dog. So I'm not the girl to help you, but Fiona is. And if you go over to Let's Talk Birth and Baby, you will be able to see them. When do piles go away? I'm 22 weeks postpartum. I've had suppositories and lactose. Again, this is a really individual question, Tara. I think if they are that bad, maybe go back to the doctors, because sometimes you need some treatment to get them properly removed, but hopefully not much longer for you, because it's horrible. What pain relief can I expect at a birth centre? At a birth centre, you would be able to use a TENS machine. You'd be able to use the water so it can get into the birthing pool. You'd be able to have pethidine, and you'd be able to have gas and air. Anything more than that, so epidural, you would need to go to the main unit. Excuse me. When does farting in a newborn become classed as excessive? 10-week-old, constant and smelling. I don't think it ever really does get, it's not like a medical, you're farting too much. I think it's just their way of clearing things out. So I wouldn't worry about it. Really wouldn't worry about it. I'm 30 weeks and 3 days and just measuring a little bit over, that's all. My midwife hasn't told me. Bye.
You can be back if you want. You can be back if you want.
All right, love you. Have a nice time.
Love you.
I'm 30 weeks days and she's just measuring a little over, that's all. My midwife hasn't told me what's the reason. It's confusing. I don't think you need to be confused about it, Holly. Sometimes all babies are different. So it's like me, I weigh a little bit over what I should be. So if you put me next to 10 other people, we are all slightly different in size. So it's not that it's a bad thing. We just want to make sure that it's not. So what happens is they go up, 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 up. What you don't want to do is go up, 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 and then shoot up. That's not a normal growth. But if they're on that line and they're following that, that would be classed more as normal. And they'll just check it out if your baby is becoming rather large. So I wouldn't worry too much. I've heard some rumours that IVF pregnancies need to be induced. Do you know if that's true or just hearsay? My midwife hasn't said anything directly to me about it. I'm 37 weeks. I think if at 37 weeks nobody said that you're going to be induced because of IVF, then I wouldn't worry. Sometimes it's because IVF pregnancies are sometimes more susceptible to being low PAP-A, which is a hormone floating around. But if nobody said that to you, I wouldn't worry about it. My baby was 3 weeks old and he had phototherapy in hospital and had his blood test last week as now prolonged jaundice and levels are still high. They're going to test at day 28. If they are still high, what can I expect to happen? I think, Lucy, they just really keep an eye on you and they'll continue to monitor. They may give more phototherapy, but as long as baby is weeing properly, pooing properly and waking for their feeds and is otherwise well, they'll probably just keep an eye on you. I would be surprised if they do anything particularly drastic. I'm just looking at more questions. What's the difference between reflux and colic? Oh, so that's a good question. So reflux is where there is, but when babies are born, their digestive system is immature and they have, well, we all have what's called an esophageal sphincter. And with babies, it's quite immature, so it doesn't necessarily close quite the way it should. And reflux is where the milk that they're having regurgitates and comes back. And sometimes it comes back to here and goes back down and you never see it, silent reflux. And sometimes they really give you back their food. So that's reflux. Colic is a term for a baby that cries excessively that is otherwise well. So those are the two things. They're the two difference. On Tuesday, we've got our virtual coffee morning, which is free to attend, 10 o'clock on a Tuesday. And we've got Becca from Colic SOS coming to talk about it just in the run up to her workshop. So she's going to be running some workshops. You do have to pay for the workshop, but it's over an hour long and that will really talk to you about colic. And hopefully we've got the reflux lady, she's going to do some workshops for us as well. So there will be stuff coming up that you can really sort of delve in depth into that sort of thing to find out. But that's basically the two differences. I'm 36 and 5 and ribs in constant pain. Is this the baby? It will be the baby kicking, but it will also be the expanding and you know that growth, everything stretching and that pressure on your ribs. So it is quite normal, yeah. I've been offered a membrane sweep at 40 weeks. What are the pros and cons? I think the cons are it's a bit of an uncomfortable procedure. It's a vaginal examination and they locate the cervix and sort of sweep around there. First time mum at 40 weeks, unless you're desperate to get this baby out, I'm not sure I would go with that. I would probably wait a wee while. But it's a personal choice. There's no real harm in doing it. And the pro is that if you are, you know, ready to go into labour, it might just bring things along. It's my first and I'm worried that I don't know my breathing techniques or what to expect. So what I would say is anybody who is having a baby and hasn't already, hop on to the free antenatal class, which I'm putting the link up for now. They're on a Saturday morning or a Monday evening. It's a 2-hour class. And in that, you will be able to talk about pain relief and that sort of thing. So that's for natural labour and birth. And then there's loads of others that you can continue on to do. But the first one is free and it's quite comprehensive. So I would do that. What factors would affect the chance of me safely having HBAC? I'm assuming that's a home birth after caesarean. That's quite a wide question. Bit difficult to answer in the fact that I don't know why you had the caesarean section in the first place. And I think it's a conversation that you need to have with your consultant midwife about what they recommend and what the rationale for was the, you know, so that I suppose what I'm saying is say first time around you had a caesarean because your baby was breech, and this time around the baby isn't breech. The recommendation would still be that you had your baby in the main unit because you had a caesarean section and there's that worry about scar rupture, although it's very rare, that would be the concern and we don't want you to be at home. That doesn't mean to say you shouldn't have a home birth, but it's just things to consider and thinking about what the risk factors are with you being at home. So it's an in-depth discussion to have with your midwife or your consultant. Can I take antihistamines in the third trimester? Hay fever is killing me. Hay fever at this time of year? I think the answer to that is no. I don't recommend any medications. I just can't on here because of an individualised basis. So you would need to go to your GP to get an answer to that question. I had a large hematoma at 6 to 8 weeks, which landed me in hospital. When I went to the hospital for my 12-week scan, I was told it went away. When I had a private 16-week scan, I was told it's still there. Is it an issue at all? Can it go away and come back, or is it just missed at the hospital? Will it affect my labour? I think a hematoma, or that seems a bit odd, a hematoma at 16. Was it definitely a hematoma? Because that's more of an internal bleeding issue. I think at your private 60, well, I mean, I'm hoping that you're going for a 20-week scan shortly, so they will look at it. But yeah, that's a new, I've not heard of that before. And I wouldn't have thought it would affect your labour as such, but I think it's something that you need to check out with your consultant. I'm 32 weeks pregnant and this is my second pregnancy. First pregnancy resulted in emergency cesarean. I really want a VBAC if I can. I've been told I can have a pregnancy sweep from 38 weeks. I'm due Christmas Eve, so earlier than this date would also be handy. What do you think the chances are of a sweep being successful this early? Minimal. Unless you were going to go into that. I mean, the thing is, it's like, if you were going to go into labour anyway at 38 weeks, then possibly, I'm not sure why they're offering you a sweep at 38 weeks, because offering you a sweep at 38 weeks just because it's Christmas is not, I would say, the right thing to do. And 38 weeks is quite early for a sweep. I mean, obviously it's post sort of term, 37 weeks is term, so it's not an issue, but I think what I would say is that if you're not about to go into labour, a sweep is unlikely to push you into labour. But yeah, it does seem a bit early to be offering it. Right, what other questions have we got? How would the process of a home birth work? You would need to speak to your home birth team, your midwife, and they would put you in touch and see what goes on in your area. How can I deal with colic for a newborn? Again, I think, Nikita, if you come on Tuesday to the free virtual coffee morning, Becca is going to be there and she would be able to answer that question because she's got loads of great hints and tips. Feel lost with what to do with my newborn, 4 weeks when he's awake, feel like a bad mum. Oh, Nikki, don't feel like a bad mum. Again, same answer. Come along on Tuesday. The link that I've just put up on there, if you go on to the parent and baby classes page, 2/3 of the way down, there's a picture of a lady with a sling on, a yellow sling. And if you click on that, you can sign up to the free virtual coffee morning. There's lots of other mums there. We had a few tears last week and it was just so nice. Everybody was really connected. So come along to that and I'm sure you will feel so much better by the end of it. Is an increase in hiccups bad at 32 weeks? As long as they're not constant, you know, all day long, every day, then I wouldn't worry about them. They're absolutely fine. How successful are sweeps? I'm 39 plus 4 with my due date appointment tomorrow, due Sunday, so being seen tomorrow with my midwife. I was told at my 37 plus 4 week appointment that I will be offered a sweep at next appointment if baby hasn't been born yet. This is my first baby, so no previous. I genuinely believe that if you were sort of starting to, you know, things were starting to soften, your cervix was starting to soften and things were starting to happen, then I think a sweep can hurry things along. If nothing was going to happen, then I don't think a sweep does anything. But again, you just don't know which camp you're in, so it's very difficult to know. But, you know, there's no harm. If you want to have a sweep, then that's fine. Oh, these babies being born, come back and let us know how you got on. Right, that was a big flurry of questions. Have I got any more? No, I think that's it. Anybody got any more questions? What else have I got to tell you? Yeah, so the Tuesday thing is great. Anybody who's wanting to do any baby shopping, don't forget that this weekend is the virtual baby show. So it was always supposed to be Olympia, Excel in London or Birmingham or wherever it was supposed to be, but it is now online. I am doing a talk at 3 p.m. on Sunday on colostrum harvesting. I'm also doing a talk at 12 p.m. on mental health. So I will be there on Sunday. And there's loads of other things, discounts and all that sort of stuff. So go and have a look at the baby show. I think that's about it. So I'm going to let you go. Half an hour goes quick, doesn't it? And I shall see you all on Tuesday, where I'll hopefully be on time and I'll be on the right link. Anybody who wants to do first aid, I do have some spaces on first aid class tonight. Same link up there you can book on if you want to do a first aid class. Nice to see you, well, not see you, but nice to chat to you all, and I shall see you soon. Thank you all for your questions. Bye.